Hey, it's the Rican, and I'm back today. Let's see. I'm battling a summer cold, and no, it's not COVID because I got tested, so it came back negative. But speaking of COVID, so the news today is that here goes, and I knew this was coming, but here it goes: COVID-19 vaccine booster shots to be offered to Americans beginning September 20th, health officials say. So what's going on is that they're going to offer us booster shots for because the whole with the variants. Now, here's the thing. I've said, I used to say all along, I think I've talked about it in the when I talked about how I did a video on how they're gonna end around COVID mandates was by the private companies saying that you have to take the shot. So here it goes. Here, I mean, and I was right about that in November when I spoke about it, and I also spoke about how what's going to end up happening is there's no escaping COVID. We're not going to get to zero COVID, which is ridiculous. Which, was it New Zealand is doing a new round of lockdowns because of one COVID case. COVID is going to be the new flu, whether people want to hear it or not. That's the truth. This whole thing of that we're going to get to zero COVID, we're going to get to herd immunity. Um, we might reach some form of herd immunity, but what's going to happen is you're going to get these variants, like we have the Delta variant. Same thing happens with the flu. Why do they give you a different flu shot every season? What most people don't realize is they give you a flu shot. This is what happens. Let's say this year they go, okay, this is going to be the prevalent strain of the flu, and they start making it for next year. They're not making it for the people. So the shots that you're getting, let's say in the fall, let's say you're getting the flu shot in the fall, that was made probably the fall of the following year. I mean, of the previous year, not the following year, the previous year. Okay, so it's an educated guess on what they believe, and what they always tell you. Oh well, even if it doesn't help prevent you from getting the flu, if you catch the flu, it's going to be less severe. Well, that's what they tell you with the COVID shot. Well, it's not 100% that you're not going to get COVID, but if you get the COVID shot, then at least you won't get such severe symptoms. Now, what drives me nuts about all this thing about with the vaccine and all this is they always ignore natural immunity. And now, why do I bring this up? I'm going to show you an old, not an old, I'm going to show you an article from, first, I'm going to start with COVID. Here is from January 26th. Okay. Now, granted, we only have a limited time frame of our study of COVID. All right. But it already shows that if you've been infected with COVID, here's the statistics. It's from earlier this year. The immune system of more than 95% of the people who recovered from COVID-19 had durable memories of the virus up to 8 months after infection. The result provides hope that people receiving COVID vaccines will develop similar lasting immune memories after vaccination. But here it goes. So if you've had COVID, your body has memory. Same thing. That's the whole thing what the vaccine is for. So like that, you could get an immune response without catching COVID. That's the whole point of a vaccine. But if you've already caught COVID, your body will have some sort of natural immunity. Now, granted, look, listen, I'm not a doctor. I'm just reading stuff here. anybody could read this stuff. You could do the research for yourself. Like people be like, oh, look at this idiot online talking about stuff that, can you read? Can you understand? Because that's, if you can't read a basic paper that tells you here about, about immunity and about how long they perceive that you're going to get an immunity for it. Here's the whole thing. Like I said, we only have COVID's been around for, let's say, at most 2 years. Okay, because we're getting on the 2-year anniversary where it was mentioned that it was in China, which was, let's say, about, what was it, about November of 2019, I believe it was. So here's an article from like a year later talking about it, they found at least 8 months worth of immune response. That's what our body's meant to do. Our body's meant to, we're meant to fight germs. I mean, our body was designed, that's why we have an immune system. It's meant to fight off these germs, because there's germs in our everyday life. That's why, they tell us to wash our hands and all this stuff. Not just COVID, but you got tons of bacteria and viruses in this, and there's a plethora of microorganisms around us at any given time. We have tons of bacteria on our skins on a daily basis. Most dust is dead skin cells. So look, anyways, but that's my point, is that whether you have the vaccine or whether you've caught COVID, you already have an immune response in your body. Now, granted, how long, like I said, we've only been dealing with COVID for so long that we don't know what the immune response, but we could tell from other viruses how long, how long we could keep a response in our body for. And the biggest thing is we could look to the previous worst world pandemic, which was the 1918 flu. Okay, so like I said, all you have to do is read. Here's from PBS. It's not a right-wing source. And I know there was like a newer study, but I wanted to get the older one because I didn't want any like COVID language in it, because I wanted to make sure there's no bias there. So people don't go, oh, look, there's no, look, this is from 2008 when they talked about, look, 90 years later, 1918 flu lives on in antibodies research. So 2 new studies on the flu were published this week. The first in the journal Nature found that some people in their 90s who were 2 to 10 years old when the pandemic hit still had antibodies to the virus circulating in their blood. Researchers injected the antibodies into mice and found that they were powerful enough to protect the mice from a reconstructed version of the virus. Just kind of scary in itself that they were doing that. What this shows is that these immune responses can last pretty much the entire human lifetime. A microbiologist at Mount Sinai School of Medicine and a co-author of the study. Like I said, I am not a doctor. I'm just reading to you a news report. It's from PBS. It's not a Fox News. It's not Breitbart. It's not a right-wing source. It's a left-wing source. It's PBS. Okay. And it's from 2008, pre-COVID. So there's no bias about what's going on right now. But here it goes. It goes to show you how the human body, look, 90 years later, the body still had antibodies to protect itself from the flu that it experienced 90 years prior. So that means our immune system is built to fight these things. And once we fight it, our body remembers it. That's the beauty of our body. Let me just see something here. Let me just go through a little bit more of the article. Let's see if I don't want to go through too much of the scientific jargon, but just want to maybe go through some of it. In Crow's lab, researchers extracted antibody producing cells called B cells from the volunteer's blood. Every B cell produces a specific type of antibody, and Crohn had developed a method for preserving B cells and coaxing them to continue producing antibodies in the lab. However, we had never tried to find B cells from such an old virus. When D. Bassler first chatted with me about doing the 1918 flu rather than new flus, I thought it was crazy. I really thought it couldn't be done. It was like looking for a needle in a haystack. Only about 1 out of every 4.6 billion B cells in the blood produce antibodies specific to the 1918 flu. Finding them, Crohn says, was a combination of art and luck. We developed techniques that are good, yet we feel we are lucky. So look, read that there. It was they were only 1 out of every 4 points. So look, we produce so many different antibodies because of all the things, all the microbes we fight in this world. That's how our body's designed. You know, if you know what kills me is when they talk about vaccine, 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 but no one talks about. Look, I'm not one to criticize anybody here because I'm obese. I'm going to sit here and say that I'm not. I need to lose weight. But I recognize that, you know, diet, exercise, supplements like vitamins, these are things that help your immune system fight these things off. One of the things that they were finding early on was the whole vitamin D. If you had a low vitamin D levels, you're more susceptible to getting sick than if you had higher levels of vitamin D. So, you know what? Let me just find that because, you know, with YouTube and everything, you never know. Vitamin, let me see, vitamin D levels and COVID. Just so you could see, this is how I do. It's not hard to just do some, uh, let's see. This is, let me see, I'm trying to find a mainstream, nor I don't want to. Okay, here's a Chicago medicine. Studies suggest high vitamin D levels may protect against COVID-19. So like that YouTube, hey, look, if you have an issue with what I said, there's the study right there from the University of Chicago of Medicine. Okay, so that's just what I'm covering my butt right there. Easy, like I said, all I'm doing is reading stuff that I read myself that I find online. That's it. You know, so when people say, "Oh, you got to get the vaccine," did you get COVID? Yes. Then you have an immune response. That's what the vaccine is getting. If if can you catch COVID again? Of course you could. You're vaccinated. I'm vaccinated. Can you catch it? Yes. You may get one of the variants. It doesn't, but your body already knows how to fight off that. It may not know how to fight off that variant, but it knows how to fight off that virus. Your body will adapt. You know, will you still get it? Yes, but the same thing like with the vaccine. Will you get it? You just won't get it as severe. Is there a chance that you can still get it severe and have the vaccine of COVID? Of course. There's no guarantees in life. That's why with these lockdowns, it's ridiculous. We will never get to zero COVID. It's just another flu. Now, in 20 years, we're going to stop freaking. Hopefully, we'll stop freaking out about it, and just it'll be, oh, did you get your COVID shot? Nah, I don't like getting COVID shots. I just, feel like if I get it, I'll fight it off. Oh, but there's 20,000 people that die a year. Well, it's okay. Hopefully, I'm not one of those 20,000s. That's what we do with the flu. And people die from the flu. It is what it is. But I mean, as you can hear my voice, I didn't make a video yesterday. My throat was bothering me here. I had to do this in order to get through part of their speaking. So I'm gonna leave it there. But I just want people to see and read and just read. Look, you don't need, as much as I like, I love doing this stuff. I like talking into the camera and talking about stuff like this so people could get a different perspective. And look, I just showed you exactly how I do it. This is what I read, and I'll recall some of this stuff. Just don't always recall where I read it at. But you can see, just do simple searches and you find information. Um, the question is, what sources do you trust? And I hope I'm someone you trust, just because the fact that I keep it real about my biases, unlike other news sources where they pretend to be objective. So, anyways, I'm the Ray Rican. Follow me. I'm here on. If you're watching me on YouTube, I'm also on Rumble, and if you're watching this on Rumble, I'm on YouTube. So please subscribe to both, and you can also interact with me. I'm on social media. I'm on Facebook, Twitter, Gab, Telegram. And with that being said, have a good one.